Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy, Ruther, and Praino. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Los Angeles, California, Joey No Chill Praino.
Hello, Andy.
Morning.
Good morning.
How goes it?
Oh, nice little weekend. We talked last episode about how this might be the best time of the year in sports, how it's really hard to make an argument otherwise. So, just a lot of relaxing this weekend, a lot of watching of sports.
Well, I put that question on Spotify. You can ask questions now. People seem to disagree. There was just a few responses.
I have a feeling it was like first week of March Madness.
No, everybody said you can't have it a great week without football. It's kind of
hard to disagree. But I mean, when
somebody said football, baseball playoffs, basketball has started.
I mean, that's basically the other combo. But you've got regular season football and you've got baseball playoffs. I don't know, October, you're looking at like week 4 football, baseball playoffs, and just like middle of basketball season. I don't know. To me, NBA playoffs, when you're getting 4 games every night right now, 4 playoff games every night, 15 baseball games, it's pretty great. Listen, I get it. We've become an NFL show that sprinkles in other sports with when there's no NFL happening. Top of the rundown today, still 4 or 5 NFL stories, but so I guess the audience is what we've cultivated.
But I don't. That rundown there's no order. That's
I know.
NFL
I'm just fucking with you.
Sits up top.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. But I'm saying the audience is what we've cultivated. But I think in terms of just all the things together, when you consider like the ability to watch, like, football, you have everything's essentially Sunday. You have Monday Night Football and Thursday Night Football. But every single day right now, you have baseball, playoff hockey, playoff basketball.
It's funny you say that. Shout out to Ryan. He did a great job last episode. Ryan Cloud, our hockey correspondent. Guess who put on some hockey this weekend?
Yeah.
You inspired me, Ryan. So shout out to you and rave reviews I've seen.
Bandy Andy, who do you have any rooting interests?
Well, I find myself rooting for kind of who he wanted to root for, or I don't know if he necessarily, Toronto for him.
Yeah. I was pulling for Toronto, also just because, fuck Tampa Bay, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah. Well, I'm still fascinated by the Florida hockey teams.
There is a lot of hockey in Florida.
No, I know there is, but again, I'm still fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So, I had on the Bruins Panthers yesterday. Kind of background noise, to be honest. Where are the Florida Panthers based? Is that Miami?
You got me. I don't fucking know.
See, I didn't even know. That's what I'm saying. I was going to look it up and I didn't. Yeah.
They're in the Miami, they play in the same arena as the Heat play in?
Where do they play? Good question. They play in the... No, they do not.
They got their own hockey arena?
They do. They play in the Florida Live Arena.
Okay.
So they're technically in Sunrise, Florida.
That's what I was gonna say. I didn't think they were in Miami. I don't know where Sunrise, Florida is, but
It's listed as Greater Miami.
right.
It's in Broward County. But yeah, they're north. But like them, they're a prime example. I just kept thinking, like, who's at this game? A lot of Bruins people, I'll tell you that much. A lot of transplants, just from what I saw.
Right. Fucking move to Florida.
But regardless, I found myself watching some hockey.
Love that for you, Andy.
Those guys get after it, man.
Yeah.
Listen,
playoff hockey's fun and in-person hockey's fun. I look around the league and I have some, I basically have a lot of rooting interest in different things like you, like Toronto. We're rooting for Toronto because of Ryan. Also, Canadian team. They haven't won. I like the underdog story. Obviously, I have rooting interest in Rangers Devils. Fuck the state of New Jersey. I've come to really dislike the LA Kings, even though I'm here. So I'm pulling hard for the Oilers.
Why do you just like the Kings?
Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but okay. I'm essentially rooting against people who are rooting for the Kings.
Okay. I've been to a Kings hockey game.
I like it when certain people feel pain. They suddenly go all in on being hockey fans. Now I'm all in on being a hockey fan against you.
I've been to a Kings Ducks hockey game or playoff game. That's fun. Like the two SoCal teams, that was a good environment. That's the only playoff game I've been to. But it was a lot of fun. I also like how the Kings have a lion as a mascot.
Yeah.
Very random.
The king of the jungle, Andy.
Ah, that's what it is?
Yeah. You ever notice a lot of chess pieces?
I guess I didn't.
A lot of lions.
No, I didn't notice any of that.
Okay. You just thought they were like kings.
Well, I mean, I thought for the longest time, I don't know if we've discussed it.
Like, did you see Will Ferrell at the game?
No, I didn't watch that.
Well, he was, it was all over the internet. I know you're not on the internet anymore, but Will Ferrell was at the game with a black and white, essentially chessboard face. He's face painted his face like a chessboard.
Well, I'm so oblivious, for the longest time, I didn't notice. I don't know if we discussed this, but I didn't notice the Hawks logo, the Atlanta Hawks, was a hawk. It was like a reverse Pac-Man eating something to me.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Have I ever talked about this?
You just realized that the Hawks logo was a hawk?
Like last year.
How is that?
Because
what
my
did
eyes
you think it stood for?
I didn't know what it meant. I was talking about this with my girlfriend yesterday. I was like, since I was a kid, like my earliest Hawks memories are Spud Webb and just seeing the logo, like 6-year-old me. I always, how we view things differently.
This is like you have some sort of learning disability. You know that?
Well, I do have a learning disability for real.
Okay. Well, this is whatever you have, that's part of it. Like the fact that you don't recognize that, you couldn't see it.
Well, my learning disability actually has something to do with my eyes. I was diagnosed like 4th grade by a school psychologist. So I have like a learning disability.
When he showed you multiple sports teams logos and you're like a reverse Pac-Man, he's like, he's sick.
So to me, it's
broken.
Even still now, I have to like concentrate. I'm like, okay, that's a hawk. Because
dude, wait till I tell you about the Milwaukee Brewers logo.
I just learned about that last year. The MB?
Yeah.
I just learned about that. I always thought it was a mitt. I just learned about the Brewers logo like last year.
That's amazing.
All these things I've just learned. But still, when I see the Hawks logo, like when I'm watching,
the look on your face when I told you the lion was the king of the jungle, it was like exploding head emoji. You're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. So even yesterday during the Celtics Hawks game, I always want to see it as this like shitty reverse Pac-Man about to eat like a pellet. I don't know what they're called on Pac-Man.
How about the FedEx logo? You know about that?
What is that?
Oh, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know, there's an arrow in the FedEx logo.
Ah, I never knew that. Anything else? Like this is a whole system. This is a whole segment.
You know the Mets. You know the Mets logo is NY for New York, right? It's not just squiggly lines on a hat.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
One I know. There. The FedEx one. This is all interesting. The Wendys logo spells mom. What? What is he talking about? Is this true? Oh, the bottom of Wendys. Did you know this?
No. Put it up on the screen for us.
So, like the bottom of Wendys. Is that for real though? This looks a little.
This seems like a stretch.
Yeah.
Was Wendy his mom? I thought Wendy was his daughter anyway.
It is. It's his.
Yeah, that's a stretch.
Yeah, this is a stretch. Come on. Yeah, I don't know about this one.
Yeah.
Is this going to be a thing? Dirtballs just make shit up. Like, hey, Ruther.
Wait, did somebody type that?
Yeah. Gene Marty Hunted in the YouTube comment section. This could be a whole thing.
This could be a whole thing.
I don't know. It's like the time what was it? Little Mermaid had a hidden dildo in it.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes, I do.
I remember when I discovered that. That was like, whoa, there's a dildo on this.
And then there's like the sex in The Lion King when he like lays down, the dust pops up.
Oh yeah. See, I'm not the only one here. It took me to see the Hawks logo too.
I don't understand. What did you think you were looking at?
Like I said, I don't know. I never thought it through. I just was like, what is this? I never thought it through.
It's not like it's an AH that's like bended to look like a hawk. It's just a hawk. It's just the face of a hawk.
Dude, I agree. Like,
it's like, oh, that Hawks logo, that white.
It makes no
modern
sense.
art fucking sense.
It makes no sense. It was like a generic Pac-Man eating something. Like that's how I always viewed it.
Didn't that seem weird to you?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just never got what it was. And obviously now I realize.
You were looking at it in reverse?
Yeah. You've seen those things online, right? Somebody will be like, what do you see?
Sure.
I'm like the person at the beginning of Ghostbusters with Peter Venkman.
Yeah.
When he's zapping people and he's just.
And his gum pops out of his mouth.
Yeah. That's like me. I'm the weird guy. Like, what am I
I'd love
seeing?
to see that the girl from that scene today. Remember how cute she was?
Oh, yeah.
Probably 70.
Have you seen any of the new Ghostbusters?
I saw I saw Lady Busters. That was pretty horrific. I saw Ghostbusters Generations or whatever it was, but I didn't see the beginning and I like stopped watching it. But like it was one of those things where it was like on. Like it was flipping through channels and it was on, and I was like, okay. And then like I think I caught it like 5 minutes in or 10 minutes in and was like, oh well, this isn't enough in where it really mattered. Like maybe I'll watch it. And it was like interesting for a bit, and then I was like, whatever, and I like gave up. But it was like actually that one I thought was decent. Not decent enough for me to ever start and finish it.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of them. None of them. Is Bill Murray like? Did something happen to him?
Well, there was like a cancel attempt.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he was like canceled. I mean, there's only been like 3 people ever canceled, but like, I think they made an effort to say he was like creepy with women. I think
Like on the set.
Gina Davis maybe accused him of creeping.
Maybe bring him back to some basketball games. That's an all-time meme right there. His face.
He's remarkably like not a. I mean, Bill Murray. What does this tell us about Bill Murray? Not a big NBA guy.
Well, I think he was just his son coaches college.
Right. But like,
where's he from?
Well, he's from Chicago.
So right. So
you'd see him at Cubs games all the time. I mean, he was in fucking Space Jam.
Sure.
You know, like I have a feeling he was at Bulls games a lot more during the Jordan era.
Yeah. Not a big. I see all the stars out for your Knicks though.
Well, that's what makes Madison Square Garden the greatest place in the world to watch a sporting event.
Let me ask this though, like you know, watching those games, it's like there has to be some Knicks fans be like, these bandwagon motherfuckers.
Well, there's a lot of guys that are there with regularity, and now it's the free ticket gang, you know. But like there are guys that are like, you know, I'm not the world's biggest Pete Davidson fan or whatever, but he goes to a lot of games.
Okay,
you know,
I was wondering about him.
Tracy Morgan goes to like every game.
Yeah, I knew Tracy Morgan.
Spike Lee goes to a lot of games. You know, like back in the day, Woody Allen was like at every Knicks game. Mostly, I think for the halftime show where the youths play. There's always like a Sopranos guy in the front. Like there's dudes and women. Edie Falco's there a lot, like that you see there a lot. Now, come playoff time, I think they get a little even tighter with that, where it's like, okay, we're going to go to the, you know, Matthew Modine used to be all the time, McEnroe. Like, those are guys who, if you're a Knicks fan, Matthew Modine also a big supporter of the WNBA team in New York. Big, like, you see those guys and you're like, okay, that's good. And you hate it when they cut over and you're like, whoa, guy who's been famous for 13 minutes. What are you doing there? You know, like, but as far as teams go, like, I mean, there's only really the Knicks and the Lakers and the Clippers, like a little, obviously far less, maybe Miami that embraces that kind of thing. You don't get a lot of celebrity Grizzlies fans, you know?
I didn't know Jon Stewart's a Knicks guy. I saw him.
Jon Stewart, big Knicks guy. Yeah.
So if you're like, Stewart's from New Jersey, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So how do you decide? I wonder how like somebody like that, if you grew up Nets versus Knicks.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know that Jon Stewart. First of all, Jon Stewart, I think, was a soccer player growing up. I believe he played at William and Mary. I don't know that he was like the world's biggest Knicks fan when he was like a whatever, but I feel like Jon Stewart becomes this is me guessing, but I feel like Jon Stewart becomes a Knicks fan when he's working at the Daily Show on 49th and 10th, and the Knicks start going like, hey, you should come to the courtside sometime, you know? And I mean, Jimmy Fallon's from Boston, right? Like, suddenly he's just at every Knicks game. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where you take the big celebs and you start giving tickets. And it's like, but listen, Jon Stewart has probably been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah. Are you surprised that they took a 3-1 lead? Because this looked like a 7-game series potentially.
For a couple reasons. One, greatest thing ever happened to this Knicks team is a bad series from Julius Randle. Knicks had a Julius Randle hero ball problem. Knicks had a Julius Randle kind of ball stopper problem. They've played great basketball at times throughout the year, but I think that this current Knicks team and the future of this Knicks team has to be built around Jalen Brunson being the guy. And the bad series from Julius Randle combined with Thibodeau, like actively putting him on the bench at the end of last game, an emergence of RJ Barrett with a couple good home games. Like to be surprised that they're up 3-1. When they win one in Cleveland and they know they can beat this team, and then they come back to the Garden, dude. I'm telling you, I've said it 1,000 times, and I said this the other day. It's like there's great sports atmospheres, there's elite sports atmospheres, and there's Madison Square Garden during the playoffs. Like, it is not like anything you could ever imagine experience. Like, I went to a Super Bowl. Obviously, that's a lot of fans of different teams, and it's very corporate and whatever. But, like, I've been to NFC Championship games. I've been to World Series games. Madison Square Garden just being completely enclosed. Knicks fans who know, a lot of them who know what they're talking about and know how to cheer. It's just like, so like going back there 1-1, like I'm really not surprised that it's 3-1. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if, Cleveland can take their game at home, but I would be shocked if Cleveland came back to New York and won a game 6.
Yeah. So, like, right now, as a Knicks guy, you sitting at 3-1. We see what's happening with this Miami Bucks series. And Giannis is what? What's his status?
Well, they're not. That is the question. What is his status? They're not acting. They're acting as if he could come back any day. But
because my point is, like, looking ahead, this is really interesting right now.
Well, looking ahead, for sure, because there's a couple things with the Miami-Milwaukee series. So you would think, now I think that there's a lot of teams that have multiple stars or guys who are a star and sort of a second star. I think that the Milwaukee Bucks have incredible role players. Incredible. Maybe like the most like high-end role players in the league. But you don't have a second guy on the team who's really like, oh, Giannis goes down for eight games in the middle of the year, and this guy just like is playing lights out. It's like, oh man, Giannis went down and Chris Middleton's going for 40 every night. Because
Drew Holiday would have to be that guy.
I'm saying Drew Holiday would have to be that guy, but he's not that guy. He's not the guy who, if a Giannis like in a regular season goes down, like we've seen this before. We've seen Steph goes out and Clay is Mr. Geez, is Clay an MVP candidate if he's on the Nets? You know what I mean? The Bucks don't have that. But I think that they believed, and maybe rightfully so after a game 2, hey, we don't need Giannis to beat this Heat team. So let's not force the issue. Like our goal is to win a championship here. Let's not play him when he's hurt if we can somehow escape this series and have him healthier going forward. But now you're down 2-1. And so the real question becomes, if Giannis can't go, or if Giannis can go, then he has to go in game 4, right? And if Giannis can't go, then do you have serious problems whether you escape this series or not? Because if he's not healthy enough to go, when you kind of have your back a little bit against the wall, then are you going to be hampered by this injury throughout the playoffs? Because again, this isn't like, I mean, you could say Embiid and Giannis or something, but like Harden is better, significantly better in terms of all the offense he can provide and everything than anybody else on the Bucks. You could survive without an Embiid. I don't think that you can survive without a Giannis long term. So yeah, as a Knicks fan, I'm like, ooh, if we get out of this, do we get a Heat team that we know we can beat? Do we get a hobbled Bucks team, a hobbled Giannis Bucks team? Like, it starts getting real interesting.
Yeah.
Am I going to have to cancel my show at the New York Comedy Club in Stamford on June 7th because we have a Knicks NBA Finals game?
I mean, look, they were the pretty
Tickets
hands
available
down.
now.
They're the pretty hands down favorite.
What did I say coming into the NBA playoffs? I said the East isn't really even interesting to me. Like I said, the West is going to be far more interesting. And in a way, I believe that still to be the case, but with a healthy Giannis. And now, whether he plays or not, I don't know that you have a healthy Giannis. Like, I don't know that he's healthy going forward no matter what, which is a total game changer.
Yeah, I mean, this is a serious issue for them. Like, I know they played good in game 2, but the last couple games haven't been pretty without him. He's going to have to play game 4. And there's, I mean,
nothing would make me happier than to be wrong about my like one golden NBA playoffs pick. Be like, well, I just think that the Bucks are going to the NBA Finals, and like the Bucks to lose in the nothing would make me happier because now the Knicks get an 8 seed instead of a 1 seed.
Yeah. Well, everybody in that conference has got to be loving it. I mean, the Celtics up 3-1 now. Sixers swept. It's like it makes that very interesting. It threw a wrench in that entire conference, that injury.
Yeah. Because what's crazy about that injury, and again, especially as it relates to the Knicks or the Heat or whoever, is Boston, I think, I would say 98% likely to close that series out. It really doesn't seem like the Hawks have the firepower. So you get a Boston Philly series that a lot of people could essentially say, hey, this is the Eastern Conference Finals. If the other series is Knicks Heat.
Yeah.
And then, but suddenly one of those teams gets to play in the Eastern Conference Finals without having to face Boston or Philly, without having to face a healthy Bucks. I mean, it's glorious. And I hope I'm obviously not rooting for Giannis injury. But like, you hope, hey, get well, man. Don't kill yourself. Trying to save the Milwaukee. You already have a championship, relax.
Yeah.
Also, do you really want any part of Josh Hart in the next round? Mitchell Robinson, all the just absolute grinders on this Knicks squad.
And then like from the Heat, you have experience, man. Like those guys, they're experienced in the playoffs. I think they have a good coach. Jimmy Butler's really good in the playoffs.
Jimmy Butler's like Mr. Crunch Time.
I mean, he really is. I think it'll be real interesting. And obviously the West is extremely interesting. The Lakers came out on fire. We all know how that game played out.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers came out on fire. Also, the Grizzlies
Ja played great.
Yeah, but also the Grizzlies scored 9 points in the first quarter.
Can we discuss the ball shot, the groin shot?
Sure.
Dillon Brooks.
Can we just discuss Dillon Brooks in general?
Yeah.
This seems like a real flash in the pan. We've seen this across sports in different. Certainly it's come and gone in basketball.
Is this Lance Stevenson from like 10 years ago?
Yeah. Just a minute, but it just seems so reckless. Like, I get that this is kind of what you're going to make as your thing. Like, this is how you're going to make your name for yourself. But it seems like a bad strategy long term. It's like getting into like it's like being a used car salesman. It's like, how good can it go? You know, you're still selling used cars. Like, you're a guy who regularly shit talks. I mean, now you're shit talking the single best player to ever walk planet Earth. Then you're coming out and you're playing what? What did he play? 20 minutes?
3 of 13 from the field.
3 of 13 for how many points?
I think he had 7.
And he didn't play. He's not on LeBron James for 40 minutes.
Yeah, 7 points. 1 of 5 from 3. 3 of 13 from the field. 2 rebounds. 1 steal.
In
0
how many minutes?
assist. 19 minutes.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like, dude, I mean, at this point, role players.
Well, he's averaging. That's the thing. So, I mean, real quick, during the regular season, he averaged about 30 minutes a game. He's averaging 23.7 minutes in the conference, or in the playoffs.
Yeah, because he's getting embarrassed.
Like, I'm gonna play the nut shot.
Like, I'm just going, for example, my new favorite Knick, maybe like a guy who's like skyrocketed into. I mean, he might be a top 8 Knick of all time for me. He's been here since the trade deadline. Josh Hart played 40 minutes yesterday. Rebounding, hitting open three, like essentially doing everything Dillon Brooks is pretending to be. Playing defense, running the floor, grabbing rebounds, 3-and-D. He's playing 40 minutes.
But also, like, so the line that Dillon Brooks says,
quietly happy, 7 for 16, 1 for 4 for 3 for 19 points, 7 rebounds.
He calls LeBron old, and then he says, basically talk to me when he gets 40. But that's not LeBron's game with this team.
Yeah, and I don't even think Dillon Brooks is smart enough to think, oh, maybe he tries to go for 40. And this is how we win. I like con him into like ball hogging. It's like, bro, look at who you're talking about. You're talking about a top 3 passer in the history of the game.
Yeah.
A guy who year in and year out, like, he knows everything about his opponents. He knows everything about how the best way to play a team is. He knows, like, especially, you can, if you want to criticize LeBron James for like, oh, his finals against the Mavs, or, this game when he was in the NBA 21, this game he played when he was 22, this game he played when he was 23. He's 37, dude. His every single step he makes on the floor at this point is a master class. He's just master classing people. And you're not going to do that to LeBron James.
So,
but you know what's offensive is, like, again, when you said Lance Stevenson, it's like, dude, Rodman did this shit. Gary Payton did this shit. Reggie Miller, an antagonist. Those guys were the fucking stars of their team.
Well, defensive players of the year.
Yeah.
Like all-time defenders. All time.
Yeah.
2 of the greatest defenders. Peyton and Robin, 2 of the greatest defenders in the history of the NBA.
Yeah.
Not Dillon
And
Brooks.
okay, trash talk's part of your game. But, like, dude, you played 19 minutes, dude.
Well, obviously then he got frustrated, and then this happened. Some acting by LeBron, for the record.
Yeah, although, listen, the NBA today, again, that's just part of the game.
You think he's directly right here? Do you think he's directly going for his nuts?
I mean, it feels like it, right?
It feels like it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I've watched.
I mean, this has happened 4 times in the last, like, 12 playoff games played is somebody's punching a dude in the nuts.
Yeah, what's going on with the nut punching?
I think it's guys thinking that it's something that they can do that has a high upside and that maybe you can get away with.
Yeah, but like there's too many cameras. Like if you get punched in the nuts, who's missing that? My point is, even if the ref misses it, with social media, everyone's gonna be like, dude, you got punched in the nuts.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at Clay, look at Warriors fans, look at whatever. They're like, oh man, we're all making a real big deal out of this Draymond thing. It's like blah blah blah. Not to mention, he's another guy that we didn't bring up when we say Rodman or Peyton or whatever. Is like, this is Dillon Brooks. This is straight out of the Draymond Green handbook, which is almost like, and if you look at Draymond, the one I don't think Dillon Brooks is smart enough for this. I don't think this is a long-term strategy. I don't even think Draymond made it a long-term strategy. I think it's just the way it played out. But at this point, Draymond Green doesn't get kicked out of basketball games. He gets one technical, and he doesn't get kicked out of basketball games unless he grabs a ref, holds a knife to his throat, and starts to drag him off the floor.
It's actually a great strategy. Right?
Draymond Green, if Draymond Green was literally any other player in basketball, he's ejected from most of the games he plays in.
It is fascinating. So we talk about refs a lot lately. They want to be a part of the game, right? But with him, they don't. After that first technical, right? It's like, oh, he can do whatever he wants because he misses a game or he gets that one technical. Like you said, he could literally drop his pants, strip, teabag someone at mid-court. They're like, eh.
They're like, well, here's just one. What am I going to do? Kick him out of the game for it?
He knows what he's doing there. 100%.
I mean, at this point, he does.
I don't think this was.
I don't think this was his strategy coming to the league. I think he was just a fucking lunatic. But I think he figured it out at some point. He goes, oh, if you get one early, they're really not as quick to give you a second one.
Yeah.
And then you can stand next to Steve Kerr on the sidelines when you're not in the game, and Steve Kerr can bark at the refs, and then you can just call them fuckheads. And you're just like, we'll never get kicked out. Like, he stands in the coaching box with Steve Kerr swearing at referees.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That was a wild game, man.
That was a killer game if you're the Kings. And I got to say, I was critical of the Kings' chances coming into this series. And this game was that. This was a lack of experience. The Warriors tried to hand them the game about 8 times down the stretch, and the Kings just refused to take it.
Well, I mean, even the last shot, Harrison Barnes had a great look.
Great look. But also, if you're, and I've said this before, this is my criticism of college basketball, and it will also be my criticism of NBA teams when you do it. There's about one guy in the league, and that's LeBron James. And they don't, and there's never been a LeBron James team that even does it. But he's about the only guy who, if you said our last shot strategy is going to be give him the ball and make him make a play, that's a good plan. But LeBron James, no team that LeBron James team has ever been on has done that. There's always some sort of away from him with the ball action. That's why we've seen so many huge passes for big shots from LeBron James in his career. You know, people can talk about all that with Michael Jordan. Oh, killer instinct, whatever. He made those passes too. Huge passes for wins. You know, you look at a guy like Kobe Bryant, not really famous for that. That's why if you look at Kobe Bryant's clutch numbers, it's 3 for $1 million in playoff games in the last 24 seconds or whatever. to have De'Aaron Fox just be dribbling with the ball, that this is your strategy, absolutely no off-the-ball action. Give it to a kid who's still very inexperienced as compared to everybody on the court, loses his dribble, ball rolling around. You find, Harrison Barnes got a great look, but like, that ain't a play.
No, it wasn't a play, but it like freakishly worked out.
It freakishly worked out, but also have a play. And by the way, you don't need to have a play. Have this be your plan. Give it to your best player. Let him do work, but have some action.
Well, that's experience versus inexperience right there. That's what that was.
And how about the inexperience down the stretch? I mean, there was a number of things down the stretch where they got big steals, big turnovers, big loose balls, and they go down, and instead of like backing it up and having a play, it's like a guy with a contested circus layup against two people. And then and they're still in the game at the end.
Yeah.
Think about if any of those things had like a little bit more like control, a little bit more, just like, again, like just being a little bit smarter about the situation. And that's this Kings team, so talented, and you learn these things as you get the experience. But goddamn, man, you guys you're also in the NBA.
They had to win that game.
You're down 5 points. You need a bucket. You get a steal, and it's circus layup against two guys with whatever, or hoisting a jump shot with 15, 16, 17 seconds on the shot clock.
Yeah, I mean, look, like this series, I think this was. I know it's only 2-2, and you can't be any closer, but I think like that was the series right there. And experience.
Well, it was certainly the series in terms of you can slurp the Warriors all you want and all their experience and whatever, but dude, the Warriors aren't great in game sevens, just generally. They haven't had a ton of experience with it, obviously, but like they've got a couple big L's.
Yeah. Struck on the road this year too.
Yeah, and I just think to go up 3-1 was everything. You go up 3-1 there.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, I don't know. I don't see the Kings winning this series now. I thought, hey, maybe they can now.
I mean, I still think that they could. I was way more impressed with them in the first two games than I thought I'd be. I still think they could win the series. It's now just a shorter series, but I didn't give them a ton of chance to go into it. And if you ask me who I think was going to win now, I'd say the Warriors, because again, to me, it's like, if you show me at the end of yesterday's game that lack of experience, I'm going to assume that's not the last time that it's going to show its face, like in this series.
Sure. No, for sure. Well, injury bug has gotten the Clippers bad. That series is basically done. The Clippers are like the biggest what if. I know we've talked about this, but with that trade, the injuries to George and Kawhi, it's a giant question mark. So maybe Steve Ballmer should, I don't know, get players that don't get injured instead of screaming like a lunatic. He is insane, man.
Yeah.
And I never understood the seats behind the hoop. Why wouldn't you want to be courtside? It's a weird move.
It is a weird move.
Isn't it?
Yes. Oh, it's extremely weird. It's extremely weird.
Has anybody ever asked him that? Why does he prefer under the hoop?
I wonder what so when you watch Lakers games, so for example, at the Garden, at Knicks games, I'm pretty sure you don't have any camera facing courtside seats. No one sits next to the coaches. Lakers, very famously, that's where Jack would sit. Yeah. You'd have Jack on camera the whole game. I don't know if the Clippers setup is like that or not. But like, I'm wondering if Bomber's like, I'd rather be under the basket than under the camera, like at least then, like, I'm in, like, I don't know if it's like a fame thing. If he's like, this is better for like catching glimpses of me, but I don't want to be next to the bench, or this is as close as I can be to our bench, or I don't know what. Yeah. To be the owner of the team and go stanchion seats, baseline seats.
I don't get it. I've never gotten it. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know any other owners who've done that. Why are you sitting there, man? Maybe that's your problem. Maybe the Clippers will never be good or at least make it to a finals as long as the owner, were you the ball boy? What are you sitting underneath there? What are you doing? You mopping up the sweat from the floor?
I think because he likes to do. I think he's so
Does he
crazy.
need more space?
I think he likes to do the. I think he really wants to be involved in like the screaming at the guy shooting the free throw.
He's what's that character? He's the animal,
Yeah,
right?
it's just animal. It's not the animal.
It's a tough day for me.
George,
Okay.
the animal Steel, but just animal. The Muppets.
Okay. Gotcha. Is there something in the Clippers logo I need to see too? Is there something that I've never identified?
Well, there's there is one Clippers logo. It says it's an LA and a C, right? The one that's like kind of spirally.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay.
Now you get me looking up old logos. Look at that one. I want a hat like that. They went from the Buffalo Braves to the San Diego. Obviously, I knew they were San Diego Clippers. They were the Buffalo Braves from 70 to 78. That's kind of fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
That first logo with the Buffalo Braves is kind of cool. But they have, like, at this point, they have to just, I would like almost blow this up. It didn't work, man.
But how do you even blow it up at
I don't
this
know.
point?
I don't know.
I texted Chris Wilde, world's foremost Clippers fan. I think the top now with Penny Marshall dead, I think the top Clippers fans of all time, I think are top living Clippers. I think it goes Billy Crystal, Frankie Muniz, Chris Wilde.
Didn't Clipper Darryl give up his Clipper fandom?
I think so, yeah. But also he's more of a mascot, I texted Chris Wilde yesterday and I said, like, thoughts and prayers, man. Like the idea, like I was like, I feel for Clippers fans the idea of in 2023 living and dying with Russell Westbrook seems like the most pain that anyone could ever have. I was like, this is like my Knicks Mellow days. Like you got to go out there and like, I was the opposite, obviously, of a Chris Wilde, one of the great. If he's a fan of something, he's a fan. He's a ride or die. I'm like if I have to root for Carmelo Anthony, I'll literally root against them so that we get over this faster. But he like to live and die as a fan with Russell Westbrook these days. That must be such pain.
Yeah. Especially if you're.
I mean, his effort has been fantastic. He's been way better. But it's still like.
Well, I mean,
I was thinking about it when I watched the game and he was like 37. Like, I would love to see Russell Westbrook's win-loss record in games where he scores like 35. Like, you can't be winning basketball.
That is an interesting stat. But we can find it somewhere.
By the way, I went on a deep dive the other day. So, I mean, it's so great these days that you can like find essentially everything. So I'm going to shout out one of our boys, Domo, who listens to the show. He sent a message the other day. It was a video. If I send this to you, will you be able to put it up?
Well, it depends. If it's, I'd have to download it.
It's an Instagram video.
Yeah, I could just screen share it.
Yeah. I want you to put this up because I know we talk a lot about Michael Jordan propaganda on this show, but this is just a great example of something I think is way super common these days when in regards to sort of the Jordan legend. I just texted it to you.
The Lock Hubbits?
Yeah.
I hate how it starts right away. Hold on,
It doesn't matter. You can miss the first second or two.
Okay. All right, I'll screen share it.
This is Jeremy Roenick.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So this is this about the golf course?
Yeah. Did you see? You already saw this clip?
No.
Okay.
But let's.
Michael Jordan, the D-Gen King.
All right, let's play it. Hold on.
Played around, ate him for a couple thousand, and I'm getting ready to leave. Now, Bulls are playing that night. They play Cleveland that night. So I'm thinking he's leaving at 10 o'clock. He's like, no, let's go play again. We roll around another 18. And I take him for another. Now we've been drinking all afternoon. Now he's going from Sunset Ridge to the stadium to play a game. I call my bookie, all the money you just lost to me, I'm putting on Cleveland tonight. He goes, I'll bet you that we win by 20 points and I have more than 40. I'm like, son of a gun goes out, scores 52, they win by 26 or something. After 36 well and having like 10 Bud Lights. I get a call from Michael. I meet him at Sunset Ridge.
Okay.
Played around.
Was that playing did that sound weird to you as well?
What do you mean?
It sounded really weird to me, but maybe it's just my computer. It was hard to. Anyway, the gist of the story, if the sound was weird for anybody else. Oh, and you can see I commented on it from Dirty Sports. You could
Every person who has ever met MJ has some story like this. Fun fact: MJ never scored 40 in a home game against the Cavs when they won by 20. He did score 37 against them, and the Bulls won by 24 in March of 1992. On that day, the temps were in the low 30s, low of 29, high of 42. So the real story is how tough those guys were to play 2 rounds of golf and smash beers in freezing temps. That's hilarious.
Not 52. Oh, I'm gonna have 40. It's like every person. It's like anytime anybody goes on a podcast now or on a radio show now or whatever and is asked about Michael Jordan, every person has a story about the time they're hanging out. Mike had a game at 1 p.m. in Chicago, 12:45. He's still at a blackjack table in Vegas with me. I don't know how he does it, but he gets to Chicago in 14 minutes. He scores 75 against the Mavericks. He wins, and he's calling me at halftime. It's like every single guy who ever, and this is like, again, this is the Michael Jordan propaganda machine. It's like part of the thing. It's like make up a completely bullshit story about Michael Jordan.
I mean, it is fascinating that Jeremy Roenick's story is just completely made up.
It's like
he just straight up made it up.
It's like, is some part of it true? You know, I have a feeling like Michael Jordan and Jeremy Roenick played 2 rounds of golf. He was like, you're going to play another round, and he plays another round of golf, and then he went out and he had a regular Michael Jordan game. He scored 30 points to beat some fucking team. You know, that's great. By the way, awesome. That's great. But every story gets this like bump.
That is fascinating.
He drank 20 beers and then he scored 52 and he beat the Cavaliers. You know what they say? Like when somebody goes into extra detail, they're probably lying. It's like, dude, you just gave us the fucking details. He literally, I'm assuming he played in Chicago since you guys played at Sunset Ridge, which is in Illinois. I'm assuming this wasn't a game against the Cavs in Cleveland. But if you go home games versus Cleveland, where Jordan scores 40 and they win by 20, it never fucking happened. He scored 37 once and they won by 24. And it was in the middle of March when it was fucking freezing.
It is funny that you can just look that up. I'm fucking around with it now. I mean, it's
But this was I thought of this because we were talking about, you know, you can just put in like Russell Westbrook 35 plus point win loss probably in fan graphs or whatever.
No, StatMuse.
Yeah.
I literally just put in Michael Jordan game log against Cavs. All his games are just popping up. I mean, it's amazing. It's pretty amazing.
And the bet was, I bet you I scored 20 and we win by 10 or something like that. But he's like, he told me he's just gonna win. He's gonna score 40 and they're gonna blow him out.
Well,
he goes out there, he scores 52.
Here's one where he scored 45. This was also December 28th. So I doubt they're golfing in Chicago.
And would they win by when they scored 45?
Let me see here. They won by 5.
So they didn't win by 20?
No, they won by 5.
They win by 20 and it happened in December?
And it also happened in December. Yeah, there's a lot of holes in this story, man.
But this is every fucking guy who wants to. Oh, I
think they want to be a part of it. I think that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
I think Jeremy Roenick. This is what I'm guessing, and I don't really know.
You played in Chicago in the '90s. Oh, you must have hung out with Michael Jordan. Oh, not only did I hang out with Jordan.
Yeah, that's it.
Me and Jordan and Rodman. Dude, this is why Michael was Michael. They're in a NBA Finals against Phoenix. And we're in Monaco the morning of the game. Playing golf and playing poker. And at one point, you know, it's a heads up all in. And some guy's got Mike covered. And Mike goes, I'll bet you my world championship ring on this hand that we win tonight, and I score 75. And it's like, dude, like everybody does this. This is part of the Michael Jordan propaganda machine.
They want to be a part of it.
Everybody wants to have a fucking story. Some guy told one once, and then everybody's like, I'm going to make up my version of this story.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting, man. It's like that again with the internet. It's fascinating that you could just debunk that instantly, literally with Google. You're like, did this happen? Nope, didn't happen. So Denver did not close out last night. I was hoping they would, because here's a stat. Speaking of stats, they've never swept a team ever in their histories of a franchise. They've never swept a team.
Wow.
They've never swept a team in the playoffs ever.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Never swept a team. Obviously, they're going to win that series.
Yeah.
All right, let's hop over to Prize Picks to look at some possible plays for tonight. Dirtballs, if you have not downloaded Prize Picks, do it right now. All first-time users that deposit and use promo code DIRTY will receive a 100% instant deposit matchup to $100. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. Prize Picks is the best app to do any action in any of these games. They are the current daily fantasy sports sponsor of our show. So go ahead and download Prize Picks today and play daily fantasy sports with us. Make sure you use promo code DIRTY when you sign up. All the sports are available. So hop on there. NHL, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball. Let's see who we got tonight. Jimmy Butler's been going off. We got Jimmy Butler with the dreads here. More or less 28.5 points. That's a high one.
That's high.
But he's been playing well.
I'm going to go less than.
It comes down to earth a little.
Yeah, I just think the Bucks have to contain him. I would like to do a more than on some sort of Jimmy Butler points, assists, rebounds situation, but I'm going to go less than on there you go. You get top of that, points, rebounds, assists.
There we go. Where was that? Points, rebounds, assists.
I throw on my glasses just to look at these.
40.5 for Jimmy Butler.
Let's go.
You like
Now,
it?
Now I'm a more than. I might go a more than Jimmy Butler points, assists, rebounds, a less than points. That's a wild play.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I see what you're doing there. What about is Dillon Brooks playing? Can we see his points? Can we see Dillon Brooks?
That's a fun one. Let's just take a less than
13.5 points.
Oh, what a fun play just to play the less than Dillon Brooks points.
I go less than, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got Rui and Dillon Brooks at both at 13.5. Give me the less than Dillon Brooks and the more than Hachimura.
Give me the Austin Reeves more than 14.5 points.
More like Him Reeves.
There you go. So go ahead and download that today, guys. You can hop on and make all these fun plays over at Prize Picks.
I'm gonna do that right after this show ends.
Yeah. Should. So there's some fun ones on there. Play around with it. All right, so we'll all be tuning in tonight. Some good games. We just got 2 tonight. Bucks Heat, Grizz Lakers. There's 10 p.m. games, man. They're tough on the East Coast. They're tough.
Oh, there are no 10 p.m. games here. There's no such thing.
Yeah. I know. They're tough.
Sports watching, you cannot beat the West Coast.
No.
It is something, there was a moment a few months ago where I was like, ooh, is this the time to make the break back to New York? Everybody's saying, oh, no one's living here anymore. The streets are covered in shit and filth. And, the way people talk about cities these days. So I was like, ooh, is this the time to like buy low on a New York City once again? You don't really get a down New York City ever. And literally a huge factor was, God damn it, I got to stay up late and watch sports. I have to wait till 1 p.m. to watch football on Sunday.
Yeah.
To stay up till 1 a.m. to watch a West Coast basketball game or a West Coast baseball game.
It's late, man. It is. Especially like, my situation now with a kid and trying to like maximize sleep at certain times. You're just like, fuck, I can't do it. Yeah. Huge advantage.
Well, what's baby sleep schedule at this point? Like, is baby still up in the middle of the night?
Dude, she's an animal. Straight up.
She's Steve Ballmer.
I would say she's Steve Ballmer, bro. Like everybody, and again, shout out the guy for that book. Like we've read so many, dude. None of these books. It's funny. Everything you read or whatever advice, none of them have like, okay, my kid spits up every time after eating unless she is upright for 30 minutes, which then throws off all this timeline and everything being specific and all those factors. Like, oh, she needs to be held this much.
Burping this baby, Andy?
Yeah, we are. Kids though, man. So she doesn't like to sleep at night. She doesn't like to sleep. So that's fucking hell. Like,
so are you not up at like 12:30 watching a West Coast basketball game, like soothing a baby?
sometimes I am.
Okay.
To answer that. So sometimes I am. But like also
I just see you like walking around like bouncing this baby like that's Dillon Brooks. He's a piece of shit. Okay, baby. Don't be a Dillon Brooks baby. Go back to bed, baby.
Yeah, no, I know, but you just get like fatigued. But yeah, there's definitely some late night games, but there's also like I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like you don't value sleep enough. Like you don't value sleep until you have a baby. Somebody left a call. I'm not gonna play it, but somebody left a funny call about like, yo, dude, it only gets worse. I'm just like, Jesus.
How does it get worse?
Just like somebody's like, we're on our second and blah blah. I texted Tug the other day. I mean, Tug is just he's a rock star. He texted me, how we doing, Daddy? And I didn't respond for like a day. I said, sorry for the delay. Kids, am I right? And I said, you're a boss for handling 3 of them. He said, I'm so dumb. God bless your parents. You know what it is though, too? It's being older, man. Like that's the truth. That's what people have told me too.
We're
Like,
at totally different places in life. I also get how's it going, Daddy texts, but it's with totally different meanings.
Yeah. Not from fellow daddies.
No.
You know, it's you talk about like LeBron to bring it back to sports, but like that's the thing. The energy that he still has, like that's what they say, or at least I've been told, like, yeah, man, it's a lot easier to juggle this in your mid-20s, late 20s, even early 30s. Like you're 41 going on 42. Right?
Yep.
Like Walt had his last kid at 41. That was number 5. I'm having my first one at 41. Like by then you're a seasoned, gritty vet. I'm
at that point your brain has literally turned your ears off.
Oh yeah. I'm like
your brain's like, you should be deaf. And then you'll never hear your own children.
I'm that guy. Did you see that? I don't know if I think I saw a headline. There's somebody who had been in the minors for 13 years and was called up.
Okay.
Just, I forget, some random, I don't know if it was Pittsburgh or some team, whatever. Like, that's me. Like, that guy shows up to the major leagues, you know, in his late 30s or whatever he is as a rookie. Like, that's me. And I'm just like, what is happening here? I'm an old man. I just need my sleep. No lie. I have added more, and I already had a lot of gray hair. I've added more grays in the last 2 months than I did.
Dude, that's sleep. That's for sure sleep.
Which is kind of fascinating. I was like talking about it with my girlfriend. I was like, I added more grays in 2 months than I did in 2020, going through losing both my parents within 8 months and all that lack of sleep and grief and trauma, all that. I've added more grays in 2 months. All I'm saying is she better make a lot of money someday and pay me back.
Your daughter?
Yes.
She'll probably just have a podcast. She's going to be daddy's girl. She'd be like, I'm the king of Zongle. And you're like, what's Zongle? She's like, yeah, it's the new social media platform.
She's going to have bigger hands than me. I'll tell you that much. Maybe she can play basketball. I mean, that's not saying much. I got baby hands, you know. How about those Pirates, though? I mentioned them. That guy called up. I think it was the Pirates. I know they're beating up on shitty teams like the Reds.
Yeah.
The Pirates, though, man.
Good for the Pirates. I mean, with such a great ballpark, you know, a fairly, obviously not in recent, but a fairly strong history as a franchise. It's great. And they've been out of it for too long. You know, they've been shit. They've had a couple of sneaky, you know, wild card appearances here and there, but like never, like I can't remember the last legitimately good Pirates team that was like, ooh. Now it's early.
They were good a few years ago. Is that what you're talking about? Like those sneaky wild
like
card.
Garrett Cole. Yeah. But like never where you were like, ooh, Pirates are going to the NLCS. And it's way too early to say that, but it's like, it's good for them, you know, and it's good for that division, you know, because you guys are down, the Cubs are, you know, trying to compete. The Cardinals are always kind of a standard there. It's just like, it's a fun mix up of that division. So like, as far as Cardinals fans and Cubs fans and whatever, like the Pirates fans deserve this. I'm here for them. Go Pirates. Go Bucks, go.
So we had a call about the A's situation. You talked
Yeah.
about like a franchise.
Okay.
And then after the call, I read an interesting article which might add some light to that as well.
What's going on, boys? Kyle Aronofsky calling back once again from beautiful Toms River, New Jersey, home to the 1998 Little League World Series champions. Just seeing this Oakland A's news is just so depressing. I mean, really, the bottom three just shitty owners in baseball that come to mind for me are such iconic franchises with the Pirates, the Reds, and the Oakland A's. And with the A's moving, I mean, wouldn't it just be so cool and something that a really rich dude would probably be interested in to just buy them for, I think they said they're worth like $1 billion or maybe $2 billion. Just buy them, say, we're staying in Oakland, we're going to build a stadium. And then from there, he can just spend like a less than league average amount, but more than the seller teams. And he would be beloved, just absolutely like adored there. I mean, you know, the Moneyball days and the Billy Bean days, they're gone because every team has entire, you know, analytics departments that are doing the same thing. And Billy has to do it. And he has to do it for a team that doesn't spend any money. And no players want to go there and play in that shitty stadium where they have to, like, pay for their own soda and probably take a fucking bus places where every other team would fly. Like, I mean, it knows no end. So, I don't know. I feel like with all the U.S., the conglomerates that have sports teams, a bunch of them are investing in Premier League soccer. I just feel like that $2 billion or whatever it would be is kind of chump change. And you would be absolutely loved. I don't know. It's probably a done deal, but I just think it would be such a cool story if someone just said, hold the phone and bought the A's and brought them back some sort of relevancy in Major League Baseball.
Okay, so I guess it cut out there. But here's what's crazy. He leaves this call. And then I read this article. There's a good article in The Athletic called The A's, the 500 million Las Vegas Ask, and John Fisher's long losing streak. And basically the article, the author, who has worked in the Bay Area forever for various publications there, basically lists all the failures that John Fisher has had in his attempts with the Athletics, with the city, with all these different ideas. And basically his premise is, dude, this is not a done deal. Like, if you look at the actual language of the situation, how many times the owner has said, oh, this is a done deal. It's this. Then it moved to this. Then it moved to this. Basically, his argument was Major League Baseball, I didn't realize this, has given a deadline for Oakland and the Rays to 2024. Like, you got to figure this shit out by 2024. And if you don't, we're going to figure this out for you. Basically saying, if he doesn't figure it out, maybe Major League Baseball forces a sell. I guess, according to this article, and again, it's one article, the Vegas deal is not 100% guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, nothing's guaranteed until all these things are approved all over the place because, and again, not to trigger the no politics in sports dirtballs, not to trigger Phil Jackson, but all of these things, again, so heavily intertwined with city politics, state politics, taxpayers, all the things. Like, you can get approval for a site and you can get approval for the costs and you can get approval for whatever. But until you get somebody to pay for it, because the bottom line is no owner, I understand what Kyle Aronofsky is saying, but like, no owner is paying for a stadium themselves these days. The ballpark in Arlington, where, you know, they just put a new ballpark for the Rangers to play in. It's domed because of the heat, all the things that they would need in a Vegas ballpark is another $1 billion. So it's like, oh, just buy the team for a couple billion, spend another $1 billion out of your pocket to just put up your own ballpark, self-fund everything, maybe even sell your own hot dogs. You'd be beloved. It's like, this is the ballpark / ownership situation in sports these days is very similar to the quarterback situation in the NFL. You can say, don't take this money. It's not in your best, whatever. But it's like they're going, but Deshaun Watson got it. I mean, look at where we're at with Lamar Jackson right now. Look at where we're at with what Jalen Hurts just got. Look at where we're at. It's like, well, Deshaun Watson got it. Every quarterback's getting it. Why do I have to be the guy that's different? And the bottom line is Oakland as a city has not played ball with anybody. And you can shit on the owner of the A's all you want. The owner of the Warriors, pretty good. Fucking bailed. The owner of the Raiders brought the team from Oakland to LA, back to Oakland, fucking bailed. Like, I tweeted this the other day. The city of Oakland and its relationship with sports teams is like Taylor Swift and her boyfriends. At some point, you might have to turn and look at yourself, and maybe it's you. You know, like you're historically getting abandoned by every single one of your sports franchises year after year after year after year. You would think that the move here from Oakland would be like, okay, well, we didn't pay for the fucking Raiders and we didn't pay for the Warriors, but the A's historically better franchise than both of them in terms of consistent winning. Baseball, there's a stadium right across the fucking water here. We just lost the Raiders to Oakland. We just lost the Warriors to the other side of the bay, where now we can see both of their fucking stadiums from where we are. Like, yes, absolutely. The idea of build it, but like, you know what injects money into a baseball team? A new fucking stadium. If you go back historically and you look at how teams have fared in popularity, in ticket sales, even in just straight up being better, when they get a new stadium, it changes everything because they can count on the people coming. Whereas, and by the way, I'm no defender of shitty billionaires who want to buy baseball teams and not spend the money. But again, when you look at the situation in Oakland, it's not as simple as they have the Wilpons where you have a brand new fucking stadium and you're in the number one market in the fucking world and you refuse to spend money properly. You're looking at Oakland, you're playing in a football stadium where for fucking part of the season, there was lines on the field for Raiders games. You go up there, there's pipes leaking. It's shit. Like, if you wanted if Oakland wanted the A's, Oakland would. There's 90 stadium deals around the country, across all the sports. If you wanted them in Oakland, you would build them a stadium in Oakland, and then if Major League Baseball, if the ownership doesn't fucking pony up, hey, you have a new stadium, people are going to come just for the stadium. If they don't pony up and they try to put a competitive team on the field, then yeah, force them to sell. Then you're doing a fucking McCourt situation. Like, listen, you can't hold a team hostage, get a new stadium, and then just sit there and be shitty and not spend the money. Spend the money. And I don't know if there's a way for Major League Baseball to work that into some sort of a fucking negotiation, but the idea of an owner, any billionaire coming in and then just taking it on the chin and saying like, oh, and also I'll pay for my stadium out of my pocket. They're just not going to do it.
Well, you know who did pay for it was, who's the Rams owner? Oh, I'm forgetting his name.
Kroenke.
Kroenke's like the last guy to do that.
Yeah, and then he also rented it half the year to the fucking Chargers.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole thing. He's also
the theater. There's a fucking
yeah. I mean, look, I assume
also baseball stadiums aren't going to get the Final Four. Baseball
True.
Stadiums aren't going to get the Super Bowl.
I assume they're moving to Las Vegas. But again, I guess, nothing is a done deal.
Because there's a ton of politics that go into it. Vegas can say, we'll give you this deal, but until that gets passed in Vegas, it's all just in theory.
I mean, even in all these, like all this time on the new stadium, like they've traditionally, I mean, they're competitive, man. They've made the playoffs since 2010.
I think I saw in the last 20 years, they have the 6th best winning percentage in baseball.
Since 2003. So let's take 20 years. They made the playoffs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They made the playoffs 8 times in the last 20 years, man.
Yeah. Now, Kyle's also right that they did something that was their own thing, and every baseball team has copied it now and whatever. So like you can't just rest on that and say we have the best guys to do that. I mean, even the guys that were a part of building that have gone on and gone to other places and whatever. So yeah. And also they never won anything in terms of a championship because it takes having that money and saying like, okay, we're going to get the guy at the deadline. Yeah. We're going to get this, whatever. So the winning thing is sort of neither here nor there. But the bottom line is they will get an injection of money with a new stadium.
Sure.
And then if you have the baseball, if your goal here is to make money, which essentially all baseball owners are, and win, if you got a new stadium in Oakland, you'd get an injection of money. You can spend it on the team that already historically in the last 20 years has a reputation of putting successful teams on the field. And maybe you win something. Or maybe you have a couple years in a row where you stockpile even more money because you have the new stadium and you're competitive, and then you go and you win something.
Yeah.
But again, I am not here to defend billionaire owners that buy a team, just want to make money and don't want to fucking put money into it. I'm not defending this guy from Oakland. But the bottom line is, you look at it, at some point, the city of Oakland has to be like, maybe it's us. Build a stadium for somebody.
Bad track record.
People just want to leave Oakland. Where are they supposed to play? You have a stadium from the 70s and you just want everybody to play there? Oh, you don't love Oakland enough. It's a money grab. Actually, it's a fucking like a luxury grab. I'm sick of sitting in your ballpark and having wet shit drip on me.
Did you see 5 NFL players were suspended for the league gambling policy, violating it, and 4 of the 5 are Lions? I think this is so funny.
Grit.
3 wide receivers from the Lions and a safety, including their number 1 pick.
I mean, the weird part about it, when you're the NFL, is they placed all the bets at the in-stadium FanDuel.
I mean, seriously,
ATM machine.
It's unbelievable. So I guess you can't bet. So what happened was, well, 2 of the guys are suspended for 6 games for the Lions because they didn't bet on site. Some of the other guys bet at a Lions team facility and they're suspended. Those 2 other Lions players indefinitely. Or no, I'm sorry. I said this wrong. The first 2 guys did not bet on NFL games. The other 2 guys bet on NFL games.
Right.
Dude, it's a mess. Because again, if you can bet on site, they knew this was going to happen. It's a blurred line. I'm trying to think of the equivalent. I don't know if this is a good equivalent. It's almost like Miller Lite saying you guys can't drink our beer.
Yeah.
Is that the equivalent? Like, you guys can promote us.
How great would that be if you showed up one day, people tuned into the podcast, and you're like, I'm with my co-host Matty Goldberg, and he's like, yeah. And you're like, what happened? You're like, Praino went out to a ball game this weekend, and he had 8 Miller Lights. I mean, and I'm just
Right,
I don't even know what we're talking about here.
Well, like, that's the equivalent, because there
Yeah.
probably is some sort of gambling at their team facility, or at least the stadium. If not there's some sort of sponsorship deal. I don't know. I just don't know how they. I mean, look, I think the players like you can't gamble, man, if that's the rule. Like, I get that too.
Well, certainly, I mean, it's not that crazy to say you can't bet on NFL games.
That's what I'm saying. You can't gamble on NFL games if you play in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's all so blurry now at this point. We went from like everything's illegal to like every other ad is like Kevin Hart versus Jamie Foxx competing.
The NFL's entire, financial pool is based on their TV deals. ESPN just running a constant FanDuel, Prize Picks,
dude,
whatever.
Did you notice during those NBA games? Like, it's now to the point on TNT, middle of the game, they're showing you the adjusted. Are you watching this? They're showing you the adjusted lines.
Oh, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. The TV deal that pays for the NFL is solely paid for with gambling sites. And then ESPN's like, after the game, tune into the FanDuel Sports Center chat where we did you guys see this clip where Jeremy Roenick talked about the time Michael Jordan bet on basketball on his own games? Where he's betting on his own games? Isn't this a fun story about the time Michael Jordan bet on his own games? Now, it's completely made up, but isn't it fun?
It's nuts, man.
Meanwhile, Pete Rose is like the Joker. He's like in a straitjacket in a white room, just screaming.
Oh, man. It's unbelievable. So I watched Field of Dreams this weekend, and I'm like trying to explain Shoeless Joe to my girlfriend. And not that I'm like a Shoeless Joe Jackson expert. I know just from obviously pop culture and things I've read or books I've read. And I was trying to explain to her, I was like, yeah, it is crazy. It was like they never proved he took money, right? But they never proved that he threw the games. And I was like, dude, that happened in 1919. Like, baseball still will never let him in.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And then I was bringing up Pete Rose, and I said, I think maybe they'll rescind that after he's dead, just as an FU to him. But these leagues don't budge as much.
You should have just watched 8 Men Out as a follow-up.
Well, that's what I told her. I said, we got to watch 8 Men Out. I've read the book. Still just such a great
fun
movie.
8 Men Out story. I think I've told this on this podcast before, but we used to do, my parents would just like send the 3 boys to the movies, like a random weekend. Like, what do you guys just go to the movies? And it would always be like a rotating, like who gets to choose the movie. So I chose 8 Men Out. I'm a kid. I'm a baseball fanatic. I'm like 9. And it's like a 2.5 hour long drama with not a lot of baseball action. That's really just about gambling and whatever. So, of course, my 2 brothers, far less baseball fans than me at that time, are painfully bored in the first 5 minutes, start going and licking Twizzlers and sticking them to the screen and just like full on mayhem in the movie theater. It's like also 8 Men Out. I'm sure the box office was dog shit. The Mount Kisco multiplex, there's like 5 total people in there besides us. And there's just 2 just savage animals going around, like stealing people's popcorn, sticking Twizzlers to the screen. At one point, I thought Mikey was gonna go up in the fucking projection booth. Like, it's insane. My mom came and picked us up. I was like, "How was the movie?" I was like, "I don't know. I barely got to watch it because your other two children tried to burn the theater down."
Well, it is an amazing history. I mean, that's why you have sports commissioners.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Baseball instituted the first ever commissioner, and then obviously the other leagues followed suit later on. But yeah,
breaking news from Shams Charania and the athletic staff. De'Aaron Fox has a fractured finger, expected to be doubtful for Game 5 versus Warriors. Sources say.
Damn.
Yikes.
Well, that'll bring up something I forgot to mention, which I put in the rundown. I just thought was interesting. Fox is a former Kentucky player. I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal about this today. A record 15 former Kentucky players. So it's a record for most from one college have already played in this NBA playoffs. And another record, 9 former Kentucky players have scored 20 points or more. That's never happened.
It's so funny you should say that. You have that on the rundown?
I do.
I don't think I went that far down on the rundown. I was watching the Kings game, and I was thinking to myself, I was watching De'Aaron Fox and Monk, and then I started thinking about Davis, and I started thinking about Bam, and I started thinking about all the guys that are around the league, and I was like, Julius Randle. I was like, would the Kentucky players in the NBA now all on one team be favorites to win the title?
Oh, easily. We've talked about this before. I know, like years ago. Easily. In fact, you'd have to argue who you'd put on that 12-man roster.
I mean, I'm not saying against other schools.
I know what you're saying. Against the rest of the NBA.
Yeah. Like if you took those guys off of their teams and put them on the just Kentucky Wildcats playing in the NBA right now.
Dude. I mean,
what's the starting 5?
I'm looking at it right. Like, I don't even know. Dude, your boy Randall, does he even get playing time? Seriously. I don't know how you pick 12 guys. Devin Booker, Anthony Davis, De'Aaron Fox, SGA, Tyler Hero. I mean, Jamal Murray. You know, you guys have 2 quickly and Randall. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns.
To me, they're favorites to win the NBA title.
So here's a fun fact. In this year's NBA, former Kentucky players that average 20 or more is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They have 10 guys
who average 20 points a game in the league.
In the league for the season. 10 guys. On top of that, Kentucky this year had 5 players average 25 or more. They'd be the overwhelming favorites. Again, you'd have to decide how do you take all these players, and there's 27 currently. How do you trim that to a 12-man roster?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like the 12 will be pretty obvious, or the 15 would be pretty obvious, but still.
It'd be a stacked team. And again, that kind of goes back to
you think about De'Aaron Fox, Booker, SGA, Anthony Davis,
Karl Anthony
Towns, or Anthony Davis. I mean, Randall has played really well this year. I obviously have I'm not a biased Knicks fan in favor of him because I actually think we have a Julius Randle problem. But yeah, like even if that was your Karl Anthony Towns, even that's it's an elite starting 5.
Who's got a better starting 5 is the question.
To clarify, in the NBA, not forget schools, just like in the NBA.
And again, it shows like, man, they haven't achieved that on the court at Kentucky, right? Like,
well, like De'Aaron Fox said in the conversation about, college versus the NBA, it's like, this is everything that's wrong with college basketball. Most of these guys, so good, but so young and undeveloped. They go there. It's a showcase for a year. They can go to the NBA.
you know what they need to do?
I mean, Tyler Hero is better in the NBA than he was ever in college.
Sure.
De'Aaron Fox is way better in the NBA than he was in college.
They need to just like, because Pitino's not that good of a coach, or can't get like, you almost need to, these schools almost need like, you're the recruiter. We'll pay you this many millions a year to recruit. We'll have a Coach K who can actually coach, or someone like that. It's
but again, I don't even think it's that as much as like, how do you tell a fucking 17, 18-year-old kid, like they all developed in the thing. That's why college basketball is essentially two different games. Drew Timmy's 26. He's been playing 8 years of college basketball, and he's going against De'Aaron Fox in some Final Four game. De'Aaron Fox is like 17.
Yeah. True. I'm trying to find the DeMarcus Cousins thing on Calipari. It's pretty interesting. I don't have it, but it was on Kevin Garnett's podcast. I saw it recently. That's why they're like, man, Calipari's a real one. I guess Calipari, after DeMarcus Cousins' first year, DeMarcus was like, I want to stay. This is fun. I like it. It's just like, I like this whole experience. And then I guess I'm summarizing it, but I guess Calipari sat him down and he said, look, if you want to help my family, you stay. If you want to help your family, you go pro. And he's like, that's all I needed. He was straight up with me, and I wanted to help my family. Kevin Garnett's reaction was great. He's like, really? He's a G for that, man. It was like something like that. Like, he just kept it real with you. But like, obviously I'm being in Cincinnati, like I'm right in that Kentucky. They're diehard Kentucky fans being on the border. Like he is such a divisive guy at this point around here with Kentucky fans. Some of them just want him gone, and the other ones are like, dude, he's getting the players. Like,
yeah,
what do you want? Because obviously it's all like that school is still like, it's title or bust. Right. Final Four or bust. If we don't make the Final Four, this year sucked. All right. Let's you want to wrap it up, or do we want to do a call or two?
Totally up to you.
You tell me.
Well, I mean, what time we got? We can do one or two calls.
Let's do a call. Let's do a non. I'll save the draft call for next episode. Let's do a non-sports call. I'll be curious what you have to say about this. 310-359-8365. That is our hotline.
What's up, guys? Tyler, TK from Minnesota here. A lot of storytelling going on in the last episode. So I guess my question is, what's the wildest thing you've seen living right on Venice or in LA in the Smut studio? I mean, I can only imagine the shit you guys seen. So just curious what the craziest thing or wildest thing you've seen out there. I'm sure Joe's got a lot of stories as well, always being out there. But yeah, just curious. I'll hang up and listen.
So like for me, it's tough. You say wildest. Like wildest Venice Beach story. So I lived there 12 years. I lived in that one apartment for 10. I wrote down a few just that came to mind. I know I'm going to forget a lot.
Yeah.
These are the ones that came to mind. Yoshi hitting a homeless guy with his car. And here's the thing. The common thread is like crackhead or homeless person. Like that's the through line. Because when I think wild, I think that.
I mean, what about the fight between your dude and the bike theft?
Yeah, that's on there.
There was multiple fires.
Well, that's the thing. Mildred Avenue it's its own series. Mildred Avenue, the guy in my apartment complex takes a driver to somebody's chest, and he's not even phased.
Yeah.
Like,
and the boardwalk where I was like a whole different thing because they like keep them out, but then during the day it gets pretty crazy. But like at night they don't let them sleep down there and like whatever. I mean, I always say the craziest moment was like there was two lunatic chicks that would always go back and forth. They were like frenemies. I think it was just like a medication thing. Like sometimes their medication would be like their best friends. Sometimes they'd be on this different page. Sometimes they'd be like at each other's throats. And I've told this story. I think I've told this story on this podcast multiple times, but people go, oh, it's all like living in Venice. At one point, the two of them, they were always fighting over bikes and they were always fighting over who has each other's shit and whatever. And they must have just been going up and down the boardwalk all the time doing it. But every once in a while, they'd find themselves outside my place. Sometimes you'd see one of them. Sometimes you see the other. Sometimes you see them together. If you ever caught them together in a bad mood where they were fighting, you're like, here we go. Why does it have to happen on my block today? And one girl's like, you have my phone. The other girl's like, I don't have your phone, you dumb bitch. I don't have your phone. And she's like, yes, you do. You have my phone. And I was like, oh, God. So she's like, I don't have your phone. Check me. And the other girl goes, it's in your shirt or it's in your pants. And she like pulls her pockets out. She's like, it's in your shirt. She like takes her shirt off. She's standing there just like in her bra. She's like, look at the side of my fucking shirt. She's like, you have it stuffed down your pants. The girl just drops her pants. So now she's in jeans around her ankles, bra and underwear in the street. And the girl goes, it's in your pussy. And the one girl takes her underwear off, bends over, pulls up fucking pussy, and it's like, it's not my pussy. And the other girl goes, I got it. It's here in my pocket. I was like, this fucking. And what's funny is like I was like watching the whole thing out the window right before she was like, it's in your pussy. I was like, I don't think she has her phone. Like,
yeah, you're like the commentator.
She's like, it's in your pussy. I was like, and this is like, you remember, like Sidewalk Cafe, 11 a.m. on a Saturday. There's like people lined up to get in there and eat fucking Cisco mozzarella sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Some kid who's with their parents who came into town to go to fucking Disneyland from Ohio is waiting to get some.
Oh, yeah.
Get an omelet. And now all of a sudden some homeless woman is peeling her insides open.
See, that's what I miss. That's what I miss the most is you never know what you're going to see. I mean, you talked about fires. I saw a guy try to light the Venice Pier on fire, try to burn the whole thing down. I saw a guy do the same thing in Mildred, lit the whole thing. And that video is still out there of like the flames going up to my apartment, the second story of my apartment garage. I mean, it was nuts. I had a guy chase me and my friend with a knife one night, straight up chase us with a knife. A dude, here's the thing. Things would happen and you don't even think of them because you're just so used. Like, remember I'd always say, there's nothing you could do here to stand out. There's nothing. There's nothing extreme you could do. I saw a guy on the boardwalk one day walking down the boardwalk completely nude.
Oh, I mean, just like, dude, like.
It didn't even stand out, just completely buck naked.
Yeah. And dude, I mean, just think about living in Venice and just like, oh. So you'd be with people who like were visiting and their eyes would be like, and you're like, oh, dude, that's Stilt's ghillie suit guy. Like, yeah, he dresses like a tree. He's here all the time. But what's funny about it is like, and I put up a TikTok about this like recently, about like how people that are like outside of this, they act like it's like, oh my God, you live in a fucking wasteland. It's like all that. And like, I've never been scared in Venice like one time. I mean, you got chased with a knife, but it's like,
yeah, that was a little scary.
But like, you walk down, you're just like, it's like fucking, it's just like it's like a cesspool of mental illness, but it's not like.
Well, I felt safe. Obviously, I was always out at night, going for walks, going for bike rides.
Going for bike rides, fucking sitting on the beach, take girls to the beach like late at night, like.
Oh yeah.
Like. Yeah. And then they break into your house and rape you. You're gonna better hope you have a gun. It's like, dude, no one's fucking living scared out here. That's why people are leaving, because it's so violent. Like, dude, it's fine. Like, the violence you saw in Mildred was like the guy from your apartment fucking going after a guy with a golf club. The other guy just stole his fucking bike.
I mean, I would hear, especially during 2020, God, Mildred was so out of control with all the homeless and crackheads yelling at each other. But you know what else made it funny too? You talk about all the homeless. The amount of celebrities that wouldn't be a big deal because even that happened a lot. I remember, because obviously I was always out there, especially on my runs or Andy's little beach workout. Like the one day, so that not Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger just was down there and was like, I'm gonna sign autographs. And literally I walked out and he just had a table set up.
Yeah.
There was a line that went all the way to the beach from Muscle Beach, and you just walk by this. Or like the other day where Dwight Howard just showed up and was playing ball. And you get so used to that. Or Steve Nash showed up that one day to play soccer. Like you'd see so many celebrities too down there that like it all, like you became immune to that as well. You're like, oh yeah, Steve Nash is playing soccer right here. This is cool.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard decided to dunk on dudes. This is cool. But yeah, man, it was a fun spot. Like the people watching. I'll stand by this. I don't know a better people watching area. No.
Especially when
I'm talking in the world. I'm talking world that I've ever been to.
And I always say with Venice, it's like find a spot, sit there. Don't move. Let it all happen around you.
Oh yeah. I found I was on a deep dive. I found those old videos where Josh Filipowski and I were walking around doing, we were mocking Jersey Shore, saying we were acting like we were MTV producers casting Venice Shore.
Yeah.
Dude, these are from like 2010. The interviews we got with people.
That's before every single person was out there with a microphone and their cell phone. And
it was before that. But it's funny the things people will say. And again, a lot of it was just Venice people.
Yeah.
And you're like, where's the craziest place you've had sex? And then just people just going on and on and on. And you're right. It was like before all that. And I'm watching this and I'm thinking like, you're just a normal Venice person. Like I asked this one girl, where's the craziest place she's had sex? She's in like a bikini top and she's like your Venice hippie. She's got all this weird stuff in her hair. And she's like, where do I start? She's like, I've had it on mountaintops and in valleys and in oceans. And she's naming all this nature. She's like, I've had sex everywhere.
She's just doing God Bless America. I've had them on Purple Mountain's Majesty. I've had it across the fruited plains.
Oh, man. So, long answer to your question. 310-359-8365. That is our hotline. Follow us on social at The Dirty Sports. And, yeah, it's pretty much
I'm at Joe Praino on TikTok. I'm at Joe Praino on Instagram. JoePraino.com for shows. I will be in Stamford, Connecticut, Wednesday, June 7th. So New York / Connecticut people get those. I'll be in Ventura in a couple weeks, Ventura, California. I'll be in Vegas at the end of May. And I just started a Substack yesterday. I'm going to be putting some stuff on Substack. Going to be maybe putting some exclusive stand-up comedy clips behind like a Substack paywall. I sent a message to all my Patreon patrons. We're out over there. We're gonna do a Substack. Substack also has notes, which you can follow for free, which is kind of like their Twitter. If you have Substack, or if you don't, get Substack and follow me for a free plan. If you want to subscribe, you'll get some exclusive shit. I'm going to do a podcast, I think, in the next couple of days of my show. I didn't want to trigger any dirt balls by talking politics, but I don't know if you guys saw the Phil Jackson story. Want to talk about that without getting anybody's butt hurt here. So we're going to talk about that over there. So yeah, follow my Substack, and I think I'm doing a a Twitter break. It's just like being on Twitter and watching blue check mark people complain about former blue check mark people and former blue check mark people complain about blue check mark people and Elon and verified bots now. It's a cesspool of shit. So yeah, follow me on Substack Notes, which is like the new Twitter. And if you want to subscribe over there, you can. And exclusive podcasts and stand-up clips and stuff like that to come. But also, I'm still on Instagram and I'm still on TikTok. So follow me all over there and come to a live show.
I am on I'm on MySpace now, guys. So I'm bringing that back. That's where I'm at. I'm a Friendster.
You're bringing sexy back. Didn't Justin Timberlake bring MySpace back? Wasn't that the plan for a minute?
I think he put money into it. I don't know what happened.
MySpace. Timberlake's putting money into MySpace. Oakland can't put money into the fucking Athletics.
Maybe Timberlake can move the Athletics to Memphis. There's your Grizz fan right there.
That's your one Grizz fan?
Yeah, because you mentioned the Grizz as the team.
Does he go courtside to games?
I've seen him. Yeah. Because he's from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that's got to be his team. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks for sticking with us. We will be back on Thursday. Have a great week. And as always, stay dirty.